Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to all my fellow classmates and the professor for coming out and listening to my presentation today. And today we'll just be doing a comparative analysis on which company would be better suited for me post-graduation, the Walt Disney Company or Twitter Incorporated. And my name is Bryce Desai, and it's a pleasure for me to speak to you all today. So, the Walt Disney Company is a prestigious American corporation that is almost rooted in American culture, and it first developed animations in the early 1920s. In 1965, Disney expanded their product line, opening the Walt Disney World Resort. And today, they're currently an international media conglomerate with their foot in the door when it comes to streaming, live entertainment, hospitality, and still movies and production. And on the other hand, Twitter Incorporated is a fairly new company, created in 2006 in order to help assist a podcast software. It was not intended to grow as large as it is today, but in 2013, over 200 million active users are currently on the platform, and there was an IPO valued over $31 billion in 2013. And in today's world, there's an increased prominence due to its role as a platform for political discussion, and with the former president, Donald Trump, using the platform extensively to communicate to his followers. So moving on to market potential. So the Walt Disney Company, with it being a prestigious American corporation, it's also the 33rd largest company in the world based upon market capitalization. And this is according to Amy Watson from Statista. Disney Parks and Resorts also leads their field in amusement parks with over 155 million visits in 2019. And with the introduction of Disney Plus, there is now almost unlimitless potential for the Disney company, as they will now be able to expand into streaming while still recovering in their live entertainment as the pandemic subsides. Twitter, there's an influence of trends that leads to less assurance when it comes to maintaining market share in social media. So while Twitter is likened to the giants of Facebook and YouTube now, their market share and their market security is a little bit less assured than the Walt Disney Company. However, the Twitter company recently announced long-term goals to double their annual revenue and increase active users by 2023-24. And this is according to Twitter financial ratios from investing.com. And I believe this is a very important component to take a look at, as with me being an upcoming college graduate, this will provide great opportunities for me post-graduation as they're working towards achieving that goal. So when it comes to the ability for a company to compete, the Walt Disney Company is involved in multiple markets, as aforementioned, including media and live entertainment. However, their main competitors fall into the media category of Viacom, Comcast, and Sony. And as of recently, there has been a decline in net income as of October 2020, and this is according to craftco.com. And this is a sign of concern, but you do have to take it with a grain of salt, considering the global pandemic affecting all components of the economy. With Twitter, they have a short product life cycle, like most social media companies, so their competitive ability may be less long-term. However, there's also increased competition for their younger users with the introduction of platforms like TikTok and Instagram. And while they are seeing an increased competition with more social media platforms coming of age now, there is an established loyalty among current users, according to the MTS staff writer at martechseries.com. They have a very strong loyalty with the functionality of Twitter, being that they're able to share and receive news in a quick and timely manner. And this is not necessarily the case for other platforms. So moving on to a financial analysis, we'll see that both of these companies have actually had not the best years in 2020. With the Walt Disney Company, they have a net profit margin of negative 7.54 as of January 2021. And while this is in part due to the very high expenses that comes with maintaining Disney parks, this also indicates a reliance on Disney parks that we'll touch on later. There's also been a steady growth in stock price and earnings per share for the Walt Disney Company. And while most of the stock market has risen altogether, this is a very promising sign, especially with the earnings per share component, as this shows that there's much more profitability for shareholders in Disney. With Twitter, they also experienced a net loss, and this time they lost $1.1 billion in the fiscal year of 2020. And this is according to Nathan Reef of Investopedia.com. And they also are boasting a net profit margin of negative 30.56% as of January 2021. And while this can be attributed to the pandemic, this is a very concerning profit margin, as this shows that they are very unable to maintain their current level of operations when a very large catastrophe may happen that can impede their business. However, similar to the Walt Disney Company, there has been evidence of growth in earnings per share, surpassing pre-pandemic levels. And this will show that even though they might not be making a profit at the moment, they're still benefiting their shareholders. So, one of the most important aspects when it comes to a college graduate is the corporate culture and how the company will actually be on a day-to-day basis once you graduate and officially join the job. So with the Walt Disney Company, they're often seen as a reflection of American culture. There are three components that are very significant, according to Alex Williams of the Panmure Institute, is innovation, community, and quality. The Walt Disney Company extremely emphasizes family and a sense of a clean-cut image. And while this is fantastic when it comes to branding, this could potentially have signs for concern when it comes to the workforce, as they have a very controlling work environment, even calling their employees cast members, just to reiterate on how important it is for employees to maintain a certain brand image. With Twitter, they encourage remote work even after the pandemic subsides. And this is in part due to the profitability of it, not having to monitor employees and having them come into the office and pay those expenses. And while this can be beneficial when it comes to managing your time better, this can lead to overworking and a decline in mental health, as I'm sure we've all seen throughout this past year. However, Twitter also provides meaningful opportunities for employees to have a positive impact. And this is according to Glassdoor.com, a job review site that former and current employees are able to comment on their employer. And I believe this is a very important component to take a look at, because this is a genuine review from the actual Twitter employees, and this should accurately reflect what the corporate culture is like moving in. Also, Twitter offers competitive stock options, which, especially considering their 2023-2024 plans, this will certainly be beneficial to prospective employees. So moving into potential flaws, we'll be addressing the Walt Disney Company first. And as I've gathered from my study, there is a heavy reliance on in-person gatherings for revenue. And this comes into play when you consider their Disney parks, their Disney resorts, even the cruises, and even going as far as movie ticket sales. People being unable to congregate in a movie theater, this will play in part to their total box office and gross revenues they're bringing in yearly. And while they have shifted their product line to offer more virtual individual options, the pandemic did reveal that Disney's all-in bet on in-person gatherings is fundamentally flawed. And this is the biggest flaw that I have found when it comes to the Disney Company. But Twitter, on the other hand, there have been a few ethical issues with not only Twitter, but all of social media companies. There are ethical issues, as these social media platforms, they tend to value user engagement over user health. So that simply means that they'll design their app to try to keep a user on the platform as long as possible. And this will be great for advertising revenue, but not so great for the mental health or the time management, attention span of the user. Along with this, Twitter can also foster misinformation and hate. And we've seen this in the past few years with the increase in fake news. I hate to use that term, but that seems the best way to go about it. And this is typically due to their algorithms. They'll tend to drive up controversial posts in order to, because those will be the posts that gain the most attention, likes, comments, engagement overall. And these are relatively concerning issues. But also, when you think about the current state of young people today, they have become somewhat desensitized to this. And I believe that this will play a part when considering post-graduation employment. So, based upon the previous research and the analysis of both the Disney company and Twitter, I have decided that Walt Disney Company is the preferred company. And some of the strongest reasons to support this is that Disney provides global employment opportunities, and they are a well-established company with global reach. So a graduating college student will be able to really branch out and find a different environment that best suits them without having to be confined into one specific location of employment. Also, the Walt Disney Company did boast strong financial data relative to Twitter Incorporated. And while these statistics are skewed with the pandemic, this does demonstrate Disney's resilience when it comes to dealing with hardships and challenges facing the company. And also, this is being employed at the Walt Disney Company is definitely a great opportunity for students seeking employment in the hospitality industry with their cruise lines, parks and resorts that will be opening up soon. So in summation, I will recommend Walt Disney Company as the preferred company. Thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to my presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.